Hey, this is Tony Andrade, Maritza Andrade, Air Real Estate here in Glendale Heights, Illinois. I have an honored guest, very special to us.
Thank you.
Would you mind introducing yourself?
My name's Theresa Panzica. I'm an attorney. I have a law firm that serves Chicago and the Chicagoland area. And our telephone number is 773-267-6631. You could find additional info on us at panzicalawoffice.com.
Theresa, I have a few questions for you that I want a clarification.
Okay.
I want to ask you, because we're in real estate and you're a real estate attorney, why do we need a real estate attorney to buy and sell a home here in Illinois? How important is it?
So it's very important. You're fortunate that you are buying in the state of Illinois because your most precious asset typically is pieces of real estate that you purchase. So as an attorney, typically what you're doing when you're helping someone buy is keeping dates. When you're selling, it's making sure that everything's okay to close with the property in terms of like if there's any loans or liens on the title or if there's any issues with the municipality that need to get cleared up.
Perfect. I wanted clarification because a lot of people don't understand why I push the issue that you must have an attorney. So clarification that I want everybody to understand. You do not know anything about the loan, correct?
We do not do loans. Thank you for clarifying that.
You do not do I-10 loans. You don't know the process. You don't know what it takes. You don't know what documents you need because I see a lot of interviews where everybody interviews the attorney and start asking them about loans.
Right.
Okay. You're not the realtor. I don't
know what values are. I don't know what the house is worth.
Exactly. So a lot of people have that confusion where they ask a lot of realtor questions to the attorney or they want to leave that responsibility to the attorney. So all I know as a realtor is that I sort of negotiate the contract. I write up the contract. I talk to the opposing realtor to make sure that we get the deal going. And then I leave you, the legal expert, to represent the contract that I have put together.
Right.
These contracts currently are the 7.0 contracts in the MLS that are given to us by the Realtors Board that we should use in order to create an actual real estate transaction, correct?
Yes.
All right. So
templated, nothing to be nervous about. It's okay to complete them because they actually were drafted by attorneys and they get updated periodically, so this may be outdated. If you're watching in a couple years right now, they tend to change the contracts by numbers from time to time.
Perfect. So the attorney's job is way different than ours, and you don't show houses. You definitely don't do any of that. And I want clarification because our clients really, and a lot of people out there, not just our clients, don't understand your job. I push the issue that in order for me to represent you as a realtor, you must have an attorney. If you don't have an attorney, I don't work with you. You understand that my process of thinking is that you're kind of like my auditor. If I make a mistake, because you are the legal expert, you do the corrections. I'm only human. There can be human error, but your job is more that I understand is that you take our contracts, turn them into legal documents, represent them correctly, you keep our deadlines, and you just negotiate with the other side to the point of closing.
Right.
Correct? You know all the deadlines when it comes to the home inspections, the attorney review, that also right now what has changed, that you see it yourself, I'm pretty sure, that the appraisals are not being done within the 10-day period that they're supposed to.
And it's very frustrating. So there's nothing in the contract that allows stalling of anything. The contract is very clear that you have to start your loan, do the home inspection, and contact an attorney within the first 5 business days of the transaction. So the attorney can review the contract, can look at the property to see if there's any issues that the client needs to be alerted to so that they can make a decision on whether or not they want to continue with this house. But additionally, some people, and this is actually a remnant of the crash. So when the crash happened, lenders previously had been fronting appraisals, and it got a little bit expensive when everything stopped not closing for a little bit. So they started making borrowers pay up front for appraisals. Once the borrower started paying up front for appraisals, then they started saying, well, let's hold it until maybe the short sale's approved, or whatever reason, let's wait till the loan's a little bit more advanced, or your documents are a little bit more advanced. We don't know about the loan programs now. So this is all like in the thick of the crash that this was happening. As the market recovered, that stayed out as a remnant. Now no one wants to order appraisals. What I like about this new contract that it does give a deadline that they're supposed to order within the first 10 business days. But if you want the house, you should definitely order it, because that helps you close on time. When you delay things like ordering the appraisal, then the closing gets delayed. So your hopes of closing on a certain date or week are going to be limited now because you did not do the appraisal. And sometimes you have loan officers telling people and putting it in writing to not order the appraisal until the home inspection and attorney review have been resolved. But what that does, though, is it puts you in breach as the buyer, and then the seller can cancel the contract because the loan officer told that. So I think everyone needs to kind of zip it, especially on emails and in writing, and just let the lawyers guide in terms of deadlines and dates. And the realtor's job usually starts way before there's a contract with the showings, like you said. Once you go under contract, it's more the lawyer takes care of the dates on the legal side, the lender takes care of the loan part. The lender should not be talking about dates, especially not in writing.
Exactly.
Frightening.
Exactly. So we understand, both you and me agree that the market has evolved after the crash.
But it perverted itself. Like, it should not be at where it's at right now. You should not be ordering of appraisals. Like, I see it. People are ordering it like the week of closing.
Right.
Why are we doing this?
Right. So. And that's what I want to share with our clients. You hit the nail on the head, where a lot of people don't understand the way it's really working now. It's not the way your colleague at work gives you advice, because he knows nothing of the law. He doesn't know anything that there's a 7.0 contract. Your father-in-law that bought 7 houses back in the day in '87, everything has changed. So I'm trying to make sure that everybody out there understands what the attorney's job is. I see a lot of interviews, and I reached out to you because I keep telling you, people interview attorneys and don't really ask them the legal questions. Right. They're asking you about loans. So this is clarification for everybody. Loans. She does not do loans. The attorneys do
all the clients and the realtors and the lawyers from the other side that asked me about loan status, you should really just call the loan officer.
Right. And
they know best.
And most important, during this whole transaction, you basically push the contract forward with the other attorney. You make sure that we all meet our deadlines and everything's written properly, including, there's one thing very important that I understand that you guys do that maybe you can help me understand better. You make sure that also that there's no liens on the property, no liability from the seller, or even on the buyer side maybe.
Right.
You protect us from all that.
Right. So we do a little bit additional that other law firms don't do, especially for buyers. So if you are buying, I really think that you should be careful with representation that you select, because there are things, especially in the city of Chicago, that don't necessarily come up on what's called a title commitment, which basically shows everything that's attached to the home that is from the seller or maybe the prior seller's doing that attaches to the home that has to be taken care of prior to closing. Most of the time the seller takes care of the things that are on title unless you agree to take subject to those items. That's usually rare. Usually you're taking subject to because you're getting some sort of deal. So it's possible if you're getting a deal, if Tony the ace negotiated a great deal for you might say, like, you know what, I will take subject to that. But a lot of times people are getting themselves, especially in the city of Chicago, into things where there are open permits. There are building code violations. There are fines associated with the house. And, this is important whether you're in city or suburbs, especially if you're buying rehabbed homes, to check all those things out, because after the closing, it still is the seller's problem, but it now becomes the seller's problem and your problem. Or maybe 2 sellers ago, the other seller, and now you. So it's kind of, we like to get people into a full picture by doing our due diligence with actual entities like cities, municipalities, as opposed to what the market is kind of done, which is relying on the seller for this thing. And honestly, sometimes the problems are caused, like, not the current owner, like the previous owner. Or sometimes people just don't know. These notices are sent via mail. Some people don't check the mail. The mailman could lose it, the dog ate it, who knows, right?
Right. And some people actually don't live where they report they live, so there's a lot of mail you don't even receive. Yeah. So that goes back to, without an attorney, you should not purchase a home. Without an attorney, I won't represent you. My firm won't represent you. Here at Air Real Estate, I really push that I need you to have the proper representation, legal representation. I do prefer that you use Theresa. There's a lot of attorneys out there. We're comfortable working with her, which makes it real easy. There's sometimes you'll pick up the phone for me on a Sunday, when
we're on all the time.
Exactly. Some other attorneys that I may not work with, they might not answer the phone, but having any attorney is very important. Of course, Theresa is somebody I highly recommend and respect. I look up to her, and they've been in business for many years. I understand your father's been in this practice also for many years.
So I learned the ropes as a young child, clerking for him as I got older, and then I transitioned to working at the title company, and then I've been practicing since 2006.
Perfect. So representation is everything. The attorney you gotta have, because they're your legal shield. I guess that's the best word I can use. They're your legal shield. They protect you from all the realtors. They protect you from any potential lawsuits that are pending on the home or could be, mechanic liens and everything else. They do their work to make sure you truly buy a house with a free and clear title.
Right. You can't guarantee all of these things because still things come through the cracks, but we do this day in, day out in volume, and we don't get a lot of closing calls after the closing saying, X, Y, and Z, but it's because we do a lot of the homework for you beforehand, so that way you can make a informed decision. Sometimes people choose to close even when they do find out negative things, so they really like the home, but at least you're not finding out afterwards, which it still could happen because some of these municipalities act a little bit slow or disorganized, so things still can slip through the cracks, but we are very experienced. I've been doing this since the 80s. We're very well versed at helping people in all types of different situations, like if they have different issues with back taxes, sold taxes, building code violations, citations from the city, if you are upside down on your property, if you owe more to the bank than what it's worth, if you find yourself in a situation where you are in foreclosure, that's definitely something that we can help you with, and we wouldn't be able to do any of it. Most of the things require selling of the house to clear up those things, so you definitely need Tony to get you started with it, to get it listed, to get a buyer. But then once he gets it ready, then we jump in, which, if you're with an experienced shop like us, we can do that. Other people, they might do a good job at, bookkeeping and accounting or secretarial kind of things. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty of actually getting the property sold by clearing all those liens, they don't have the connections. They're not experienced. They don't know people they don't know who to call at the villages. They don't have relationships with people at the villages. So I think you get a definite edge by working with us, as opposed to, the newcomer or your friend, unfortunately, that, does divorce but may want to dabble in real estate. So you always want to go with the professionals. So Tony's a professional. We're professionals.
Right.
And that's going to help you have the best experience, I think.
So I couldn't said it any better myself. Exactly. You are listening to the knowledge she has to offer. There's no better attorney than her. I could assume you've done city, suburbs, and everything else.
Right.
So the experience is very important. The attorney that can answer those questions, proven right here, she has the answers. We can help you with the foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, to actually maybe sell the house and help and save your credit. So give us the opportunity where, yes, you can call the realtor and the attorney. We work in a great combination where we can rescue you from just about any problem that you might have. We pretty much have pretty good amount of answers.
Right. And even if you're not in a distressed situation, you're investing, Tony knows different opportunities for you guys to invest in, and we also work with a lot of investors that are rehabbing houses, that are selling to the public, and we're able to help them navigate through common pitfalls with those items too.
Right. And today you learned my slogan that I say.
Right, which is amazing.
Never problems, only solutions.
Right.
We have the solution. I always try to find the solution. And if I don't know, I reach out to people like Theresa. And I mainly reach out to Theresa because she has a lot of the answers.
And we do the same too. So it's not necessarily that you know everything, but you need to know the people that know the thing that you need to help clear up your situation, whether it's, investing to make more money, or whether it's buying your first home, short selling, traditionally distressed, divorce, whatever the situation is. We've been through it all, seen it all, and we could definitely help you.
Right. And last but not least, I want to talk about one important thing and then remind everybody out there. The final numbers, when you keep asking the realtor, how much money do I need for closing tomorrow or the following day? I believe most of the time the attorney will have that answer because you go through the settlement statement, correct?
Sometimes. So you want the long legal answer or the short one? Okay. So Elizabeth Warren, she's running for president right now,
right.
Started or helped start the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which now governs real estate transactions. That happened a few years ago. Prior to that, HUD was the department. Prior to that, RESPA, whatever. There's all these different departments that the government made. CFPB is now the one that regulates it. CFPB stated that buyers have to know, the slogan is, their slogan, different than yours, know before you owe.
Right.
Okay? So buyers will sometimes say, even now, which they used to say prior to this initiative, but even prior to this initiative, they would know before they owed too, because they would get a disclosure, truth in lending disclosure, that told them what everything was going to be. And also a copy of all the loan documents, which they still get now. But Know Before You Know initiative says that they are supposed to know how much their down payment is, what their interest rate's going to be, how much their payment's going to be, their taxes, their insurance. Estimates, typically it's overestimated because you can go down at the closing, you cannot go up. So clients do know. But what happens is that they maybe want it to the penny. And that's kind of impossible because there's literally a list as big as the telephone book of why it could change from the day that you go under contract from the lender tells you until I receive a copy until you show up at the closing table. So we usually tell people to bring an amount that's a little bit more just in case there's any changes. This is how the process works. Once the loan, it's called clear to close. Once, if you're buying a property and your loan's clear to close, the bank will send their figures to the title company. The title company and the bank speak with each other, generate figures. Sometimes the title companies don't release the figures to the seller's or buyer's attorney until the lender approves the figures. So sometimes we do not get the figures before closing because the title company is still working with the lender. Sometimes the lender doesn't even send the figures until an hour before closing. So we don't always. So we always tell people when it's scheduled, if we don't get to you prior to closing, call your lender. They will give you an estimate. Add somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 more, so that way if it changes, you're okay, and you do get change back like McDonald's. But it is a good way. Your lender, you are going to know about it in the beginning with that initiative, and then you should know a little bit more exact prior to before. But no, the realtor does not typically get a copy. Sometimes they do, but it changes so much. And honestly, until you get to the closing table, it's not over. What is Yogi Bear quote? It ain't over till it's over. Right. So until they give you the keys, everything could change. So that's why we always tell people to bring a little bit of a pad. But yes, your lender is going to be your best bet in that. We do once we get the figures, we'll call people. And for sellers, it's a little bit tricky. We're trying to work through this. So when we did short sales in volume, we would generate our own figures. But since we're doing traditional sales now, we send in our figures to the title company when we first get the closing and copy the lender so that the lender knows. Now with this new initiative that Elizabeth Warren started, the lender needs to know your tax credit. So when we represent the seller, that's something that the seller's attorney is responsible for. So we'll send it in the beginning. We'll also send it to the lender as well so that they have it. But title companies won't send us figures until the title commitment's ready. So even though we try to be proactive, then they typically don't save the documentation. So sometimes when you're selling a house, it's a little bit tricky. So I have this app called Panzica Law, or I think now the App Store changed it to Panzica One, that you can go on there and download it and type in your purchase price, your commission amount, your loan amount, and it'll generate an estimate for you, which is a little bit higher than, or excuse me, the costs are a little bit higher than what they should be, so that hopefully you're pleasantly surprised with a little bit more money at closing.
Right.
But that's a way for you to get figures right away, or you could ask us to generate one for you until we get the title things in, because it's a little bit frustrating for sellers too. When do I know how much I'm going to make, not just buying? So
Right.
we try to have that app available for you, which is free of cost for you as well.
Right. So
Buyers and sellers could use it. Buyers could figure out estimates of like what their mortgage payment would be too.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
So that's a good app that we're probably going to start using, of course, and
Yes.
you got to clue us in.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, that was the big reveal.
Yeah, most important. I just want clarification. I want everybody to understand is that your realtor doesn't have the final figure. Your attorney sometimes may have
Kind of elusive, that term.
so that it's really tough. So when you call your agent and you call everybody and you're asking, I need the final figure. How much money do I need to bring tomorrow? Here's the great thing that I want to remind you. This is why you need an attorney. Your attorney's your legal shield. They are actually going to go through the whole statement, and they're going to make sure that every penny you have paid, you get credit for. All your expenses that you did during this whole transaction, they're going to make sure that it's on there and you're credited for it. And you're not being double billed, correct? That used to happen a lot before the market crashed.
Right.
That doesn't happen anymore because right now they've buttoned down on all that stuff. All right? So if you have any money that's owed to you, any money left over, the attorney's your legal shield. They are actually going to protect you and make sure you get everything back and all your credits. I just want to make that clear. I want people to understand that. Working with a great attorney like Theresa and her law firm is very important. So that sums it up, guys. Plain and simple. This is Tony Andrade, Maritza Andrade here at Air Real Estate. We have our lovely guest today, Theresa, that we really admire you and we appreciate you coming down.
Thank you for having us.
Please contact us for the best advice, the best way to go. Can you give them your phone number one more time?
773-267-6630.
There you go. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you.